Okay, so let's practice dividing some fractions by fractions. So if I had 9/4 divided by 3/4, these are the same unit. They're both in fourths. So the question is, how many 3/4 are in 9? 9/4. So that'd be similar to saying, if you had 9 ducks, how many groups of 3 ducks are in 9? Hopefully you said 3. The same is true here. So if we think of, and this is writing it in unit form, would be writing it like 9/4. So our unit we're dealing with is fourths, just like sometimes we deal with ducks, or sometimes we deal with people, or sometimes we deal with cookies. Those are our units. So in this case, we're dealing with fourths. Divided by 3/4. So if your assignment tonight, or when your assignment tonight says, rewrite the division expression in unit form, they mean write it like this: 9/4 divided by 3/4. It's just like taking 9 cookies and dividing it into groups of 3 cookies. Same thing, it equals 3. Then it says draw a model to support your answer. So just so we can understand what that means. So when we have 9/4, I know that's an improper fraction. So when I go to draw my model, I really need 9/4. So I'm going to have 2 items. So here's 4/4. Here's 8/4. I really need another one. That's 12/4, but I only have 9. So I'm going to shade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can see again, 9/4 is really 2 wholes and 1/4 of another 2 and 1/4. So then, how many groups of 3/4? So circle your 3/4. There's 1, 2, 3, and that's why we get our answer of 3. When you do your model, make sure that you're not just doing a model to show me the answer 3. Do the work so that your brain can see the visual of what's happening here. I had 9/4. When I divided into groups of 3/4, I have 3 groups. So let's try another one. And you try this one on your own. If you had 6/8 divided into groups of 2/8. So first think if you had not 8s as your unit, but ducks or cookies. 6 cookies divided into groups of 2 cookies. 6 people divided into groups of 2 people. How many groups would you have? Then write it in its unit form. 6/8 divided by 2/8 equals, again, just if it were 6 divided by 2, it would equal 3. Then draw your model. What would your model look like? How can you first show 6/8? Then circle groups of 2/8. So that should look like this. I need 6/8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That gives me my 8s. I only have 6 of them though. I have part of a whole, which I know from the fraction. Then circle groups of 2/8. There's 1, 2, 3. And again, it supports my answer of 3. So now let's try one that gets a little tricky, like 7/8 divided into groups of 2/8. So again, 7 ducks divided into groups of 2 ducks, 7 cookies divided into groups of 2 cookies. Am I going to have a whole group? No, I'm going to have some parts that are left over. So I write it in unit form, 7/8 divided by 2/8. So that I can't do in my head necessarily. Let me see if I can number bond it. I can't do 7 divided by 2, but I can do 6 divided by 2, which would be 3. and then I have 1 left over. 1 divided by 2 is pretty easy. 1 cookie split between 2 people is a half. So I think my answer is going to be 3.5 or 3.5. So now let me check my model to see if I'm correct. Again, how can you demonstrate 7/8? I draw my tape diagram here. I've split it into 8s. I color 7 of them. I see 7/8. I expect it to be almost all. I am correct because it's one piece from being the entire thing. If I break it into groups of 2/8, I have 1, 2, 3, and then this is where it gets tricky. How do I name this? I have 1 part out of 2 that I would need to make another group. So I have half of another group, which is exactly what I found here. 3 and then 1/2. Let's try 11 ninths divided by 3 ninths. So thinking about it as normal division, 11 ducks divided into groups of 3 ducks, 11 cookies divided into groups of 3 cookies. What would I get? Well, I'm not going to get a whole answer because 11 doesn't divide evenly between 3. So that tells me I have a part. So let's try our strategy we used up here. Writing it in unit form would be 11 ninths. And remember, I could replace that with ducks, cookies, people, divided by 3 ninths. So I can't do it evenly, but what number out of 11, could I divide evenly between 3? I could do 9. So if I split it, I have 9 and then 2 to get me to my 11. 9 divided by 3 is 3. If I have 2 divided by 3, that feels pretty weird. 2 items split between 2 people. I'm going to have to draw a model to figure that one out. So let's go ahead and draw our model and see if we can figure out what to do there. So I need 11 ninths. I see that that's an improper fraction, so I know that I'm going to have more than a whole. So I kind of draw like this. Then I kind of like to split it like, okay, here's one whole, here's another whole. So I need these to be ninths. I'm going to draw one over here because I got a little smush there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's ninths. And there's another 9. So now I need to color in 11 of them, which is more than a whole. So I can kind of color in all of these really quick. So that's 9, 10, 11. So I can see 11 ninths is 1 whole and 2 ninths of another whole. Now I need groups of 3 ninths. So there's 1, 2, 3. There's a group. 1, 2, 3. There's a group. 1, 2, 3. There's a group. And then I have 2 pieces left out of 3 that I need. So what part of the group do I have here? I have 2 out of the 3 I need. 3 and 2/3. And when I thought of this up here, I did think 2 divided into 3. I thought about 2/3, but I wasn't sure if that was correct or not. But there are no accidents in math. So 3 wholes, but 2 divided into 3 is the same as saying 2/3. 2/3. All right, now let's get out your math notebook and so that we can write down some notes about what these things mean and what the vocabulary is. So push pause until you have your math notebook out and you are ready to roll with taking some notes. Okay, for our notes up here, we are going to write dividing fractions in unit form. So this is dividing fractions in unit form. You could put that in your table of contents and then whatever page you're on. Remember, whatever I write or draw on my paper, you should write or draw on your paper. So first, let's just write an example of a problem like 9/12 divided into 3/12. So the first thing that I want you to know is what unit form looks like. If they ask you to write it in unit form, they want you to write it like this: 9/12 divided by 3/12. And then just so we remember that these are our units, and up here let's write like 9 ducks. I don't know why I'm stuck with ducks today, but I am. Quack, quack. Or 9 cookies into groups of 3 cookies, so that you kind of remember that your units are your items that you're dealing with. And in this case, we just happen to be dealing in 12ths. Then a model would look like this. The model is when we would shade 9/12. So we make our unit here, break it into 12ths. Darn it. 12ths is a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so then 12, let's make a note that the 12ths are our number of pieces. So our unit is what the number of pieces need to be in our model. And then the 9 is the amount we shade. So let's say amount shade. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then our 3 is groups that we circle. Number of pieces in each group to circle. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we know that our answer is 3. 9 divided by 3 equals 3. And that 3 is the number of groups, which are our circles right there. Okay, so that one was kind of an easy one. Let's do another example of if we had 7/9 divided into 3/9. That's one that won't come out evenly. So again, the unit form would simply be 7/9 divided into 3/9. 7 ducks divided into groups of 3 ducks. 7 cookies divided into groups of 3 cookies. Our model would be the 9ths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And of course, I made that one too big. So there's our pieces. I need to shade 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's how many are shaded. Then I circle groups of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I have 2 holes, and then this is 1 part out of the 3 that I would need to make another group. So I have 2 and 1/3. You can also do this computation-wise. 7 divided into 3. 3 divided into 7 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. Subtract. I have 1 left over, but we don't do remainders anymore in 6th grade. We do 1 up here, and then this becomes your denominator, 1/3. My video is going to run out, so hopefully those are good notes for you on your in your math notebook to remember what they're asking you on your homework. And then your homework is lesson 3 here. Make sure you use a separate sheet of paper. I have your example here of what the unit form would look like and what a model would look like.